We've all been through craziness. And I mean, as much as I learned from 2020, I'm ready for 2020 to straight go to hell and bring on 2021. If we continuously use the prism of red or blue to justify our actions, our inactions, our natural bias, or our own opinions, instead of using the premise of right or wrong, we are all screwed.
Welcome to the Now or Never podcast, all things entrepreneurship and life. I am Brittney Rexius, your host. Hey, that's always my calling card, with my special guest, Stephanie Pearson. Stephanie, tell me a little bit about your business and your entrepreneurship life and where you came from.
Yeah, for sure. So I own Nebraska Dance and here in Omaha, and we just celebrated 20 years.
Awesome.
And that's been really exciting. We currently service about 1,100 kids.
Okay.
We have 2 locations, and yeah, this journey started when I was straight out of college. I started when I was, I would have been about 22. And, I'd been a dancer growing up, and I actually was offered to purchase a studio when I was 18.
Oh, wow.
Yep. But I just decided at that time I just wasn't ready. I wanted to go to college. I didn't even honestly know at that point that I wanted to do a dance studio. I really wanted to kind of explore and see what else was out there. And, I did the dance team in college at University of Nebraska Lincoln, and that was a lot of fun. But then after about my junior year of doing dance team and all this, I kind of decided I was a little burned out of dance and I needed to take a break.
Okay.
And I kind of thought, I think it's just time to hang up those shoes and move on to something else and see what else is out there that I'd be passionate about. Well, I did that. And so for a year, I basically went cold turkey, just taught a little bit of dance here and there, but not the crazy schedule I'd had for all my years growing up.
Yeah.
And I just cold turkey. Well, I tried a bunch of different things, and I found, lots of things I enjoyed, but nothing as, strong as dance had been.
Nothing that was like your major passion.
Yes, exactly. And so after about a year of that, I was like, okay, I actually think I really want to get back into teaching. I love teaching. I love coaching, but I was doing a business degree, and I also loved the challenge of business and just what it was. So I thought, maybe I do want to do a dance studio. At the time, I felt like Nebraska or Omaha really needed a studio that was just kind of going into the new waves of dance that was happening at the time. And I said, okay, I'll take an entrepreneurship class. So I took this entrepreneurship class in Lincoln, and there was only about 30 people in the class. And the professor, we had to write for our first, the whole class was based on this one business plan, right? We were going to just write this one plan. And our only grade was going to be at the very end on the plan, and we were going to do a national competition with these business plans, and that was like our grade, right? That was it. And
that's scary.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. It was a lot of pressure, right? To get it all right. Well, we had to write little things along the way, and our first thing we had to do was a little synopsis of what our business plan was going to be. And honestly, I could feel that I was probably the only one in the class that was taking the class because I actually had this idea. I really wanted to do it. I thought I wanted to, figure out. Everybody else was kind of in there like, oh, I want to own a business. I don't know what, kind of making up things that they were just coming, whatever. And anyway, my professor wrote on the side of my paper, you'd be better off working, at Burger King. And I was like, okay. Well, my personality is fueled by that.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I'll show you how I disagree, and I think we can do really, really well. And anyway, so long story short, the semester went on, and the professor could see that I clearly had a lot of passion. I knew a lot about dance. I knew the industry. I knew the market like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
And I just knew what I was doing. And we had to do a lot of things in front of different business leaders in Lincoln. And every time I'd stand up to speak about it, I was kind of the only one that really knew what I was doing in my industry. And anyway, long story short, by the end of the semester, the professor was really singing my praises. I ended up winning the business competition. That was
wonderful.
A national competition, which was awesome because then I actually won money with it, and it, could put it towards. So at that point, after I'd gone through all that, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I don't know when, I don't know what's the timing, what's the Lord's timing for me in this, but I know I'm going to do it someday. Yeah. And so second semester went by, and I finished, my professor had me enter like an international business competition. I ended up getting third place in that one, which was also just encouraging. And again, I was up against these crazy large, scale business models, right? A little dance studio compared to all these other ideas that were out there. And even some things that have actually like come to fruition. There's some large companies that actually came from that time. But anyway, so that really helped fuel me. So then after that, I graduated from college. I came back home, and every summer I had gone, one of my high school years, I had gone down to Los Angeles and taken dance classes and just spent like a month or two there. And I told my mom, I said, I think I need to go back down there one more time, because that was kind of my other thing I wanted to do, was maybe go down and dance for a while. And so my mom and I went down there for 2 weeks, and I said, I just need to be down here. And then I think I'll feel if I want to be here, if I want to stay,
see if it feels right.
So anyway, out of the end of that 2 weeks, I was like, nope, I don't want to do this. This is not me. I feel like I'm ready to, try this dance studio. And so I came back home, and I was finishing up some jobs that I had been doing with working some dance camps across the nation and stuff. And the fall came, and I was coaching a dance team here in Omaha, and I just thought, okay, I'm just going to start looking, right? Yeah. Like what's places out there. So I started looking at this place next to my parents just to get some ideas of the prices and things like that. And this guy said, well, hey, what are you looking for? And I said, a dance studio. And he said, oh, I've got this place on 114th and Dodge. I always thought it would be perfect for dance or karate. I was like, okay, take me there.
Let's see. Yeah.
Yep. So I went, and I was blown away. The space was literally set up, like he said, for a dance studio. There was like a waiting area you could see. There was windows already in there. It had been like a factory eyeglass outlet.
Okay.
And you could watch them make the glasses.
Oh, cool.
And so it was just already set up. So it was very much a sign. In addition to that, the gentleman that owned the building at the time, it had just been sitting there for a long time. Like the space, I think, had been like 2 years. It hadn't been rented. And so he was like pretty eager to get it rented.
Right.
So he, like, the price they were offering was like quarter of what you pay in that area. And I was like, oh my gosh, like Mom, this is it. Like I could just feel that God was with me. And it was like, this is the time, I think this is it.
Yeah.
So I signed the contract. My parents were, they were my co-signers, and I remember them looking at me like, okay, are you sure?
Yeah.
Do you know what
were
you're
your
doing?
parents supportive through all of this?
Yes,
that's awesome.
Very supportive, but also I think a little bit like, whoa, here, like, you know, signing my name to, finances I'd never seen before, and, all that kind of thing. But they were very supportive. And, and then it just, I said to myself, and just through my business plan, if I could get to 50 kids, like, then we would, be in a good place.
Right.
Well, we ended up opening our doors with like 180.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. And then it really just took off very quickly. Community really embraced it. And, we were growing by hundreds of kids each year. Yeah. So to the point that by about year 3, we had about 600 kids.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
I was so glad I was young and a little naive, right? And a little just could work a crazy amount of hours. I think that's a key piece of a startup business is those first years are just a lot.
A lot of people go into starting businesses and they think that they can just open the door and it'll be successful, not seeing the amount of work. We are 11 years into Rexius and we're still working, we're grinding so many hours. And then you add on the gyms and BHI and that grind just, it doesn't stop. And if you stop, then I feel like you kind of slide backwards. So it's always ever changing.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Exactly. And I was fortunate that my husband, I just got married the first year of the studio. My husband and I got married. So it's kind of like everything was happening that year. And I've heard just some different organizations I'm a part of with other studio owners. And there's, a woman that she always says, it's like we could probably get a job that we just only work 40 hours, but we choose to work for ourselves for 80 hours,
Exactly.
But it's, your passion is there. You're so excited about it. Yep. And that's exactly what it was. Those first, I would say it was I know they say 7 years, and that's about what it was for us, that it just was a lot. And, we wanted a really quality product. We wanted to do a really good job. And we were just, creating new programs and trying to figure out how to best, work with the kids and supply different programs that would really meet the needs. And, I had so many passions of offering the different things just from my own dancing experience. I feel like dance is something that kids can do very recreationally. Right. I think dance can be so much fun just for a little activity and exercise and confidence building and all that. But I also, being someone who aspired to be as strong as dancer as I could have been, I wanted to create programs that were available for those kids too, and kind of everything in between, right? How much time kids want to commit, what families are able to commit.
Right.
And so I just really wanted to see how those programs develop. So a lot of it was that, trying to develop lots of just cool programs and things. And, but yeah, the beginning was just a lot of work.
Yes. You have all these thoughts and trying to get there's not enough hours in the day to keep up with all of the new ideas.
Yes. And that's exactly it. But for me, that is a piece I love, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm an ideas person. I'm a visionary. I'm still to this day, 20 years into it. I'm kind of at a point now where I'm entering into different ventures and different things. We just started, just some different things. And my brain loves that. Like I just love that, creating new things and all that fun stuff. But yeah, so it's been quite the journey to get it there.
Sounds like it. It sounds awesome. Yeah. So you got married your first year. Your husband, is he part of your businesses? Does he have a job outside of the businesses?
Bless his heart, no, he does not. And that's the best thing for us as a married couple.
Yeah.
We're better husband and wife than we are,
business partners.
He's a teacher at Willard North High School here in Omaha, and he's a science teacher, and he loves that. It's his passion. He just loves what he does, and he loves teaching kids. So we have that in common as far as teaching kids and coaching kids. We both love that. But we've decided it was better for him to just stick on that track. And he's been extremely supportive. Poor guy. He had no idea that when, and here's a funny thing. So the year that I took that break, right? Yep. That was when I met him. I met him right at the beginning of that. And it was funny because I was like, I have all this time to date. Yeah. I didn't before because I had a crazy schedule of dance. And so he knew I danced, but he had no idea, that actually consumed most of my hours and days. And so when I said, hey, I think I'm going to open a studio, he was like, great. But he had no idea what that meant. And so poor guy has he's learned how to build a ton of props. He's driven our truck across the country to Las Vegas or to Florida, wherever our nationals are that we're going to. So awesome. He's very supportive and he helps with just lots of things around the studio and stuff. But so
that is good. I think that's so key to have a supportive backing, a supportive spouse, supportive family when you are an entrepreneur, because it does take a lot of your time. Yes. It isn't easy on family sometimes because family is like, hey, we're here. And you're like, I know, but I really have to do this. So it's nice to have that supportive backing. Yeah.
And he loves the community of it. And there was an era where we were doing lots of props. We would build these huge production sets for our numbers, and he would build all those. And he also had a lot of guys that helped him, a lot of the dads. And it was really fun. They created this little community that they would grill the dads group. Yep. And they would grill at our shows, or, it was a lot of fun. So he really embraced the community and got involved in it. And
has he started dancing? Have you gotten him?
Oh, no. Tyler, no. Yeah, he was petrified actually when we met, and when we go to weddings, you're in that era of life, your friends are all going to weddings, and he was like, don't you dare ask me to dance. He was so worried to go to and have all the dance girls out there dancing. He's wallflowers, shoulders barely move, Yep. So I've tried to respect that. But he has gotten on stage though, because we have a little girl and we do a daddy-daughter dance. Yes. And I said, okay, honey, I've respected that for years, but it now, is time.
It is time.
You're going to dance your little girl. So, so he has done that very reluctantly, but he's gotten on stage. He doesn't like it at all, but
that's awesome. So, you have 2 children?
We have 2 children. Yep.
Wonderful.
11-year-old son and an 8-year-old little girl.
Awesome. Do they help out within the business as well?
They both enjoy dance. My son, he's only done. I've tried to get him to do everything right. I think you always want your kids to find your, enjoy your passion too. But he hasn't enjoyed all of it. But he loves hip hop specifically. Okay, has been his thing. He loves to do, and he loves the tricks and all kinds of things. So he just also loves the energy in the community, like my husband does. He likes to be around all the people and stuff. My little girl, she does do some of our programs, and she dances, and she loves. I would say more so now they just are involved as students and things. But she definitely loves the atmosphere. She loves the people. We've been working on, as I mentioned, I like to do lots of different projects. There's a dance ministry that we've been loosely working on developing called Project Joy. Okay. And she's loved getting involved with that, which has been really, really fun. So awesome. So we'll see if they continue to, my big thing with my kids is, I don't want them to do a passion because of, if they decide they want to be a part of it, wonderful. Like, here it is. But I want them to find their own way too. I believe the Lord gives them their own passions too, and I really want them to explore. But no, they both have definitely embraced it. But,
awesome.
Yeah.
So with being in business for 20 years, what are some of the things you look back on now from when you started that you wish you would have known for, we have a lot of people that watch that are just starting or just thinking about what would be your advice to yourself back then, now that you know?
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah. I think, some of my biggest things I would say is just, that passion piece. I think there's so much when you're wired more to take a job and just follow. Like, I remember my professor, that entrepreneurship professor, basically wanting to inspire us. Like, you can make your own paycheck, right? Like, you don't have to just do. And I just think that when you've got that spirit and that desire and that thing that you see, that's a vision, like it's really, just kind of releasing that fear and just going with it, and it's like, you would be amazed at how it just happens, And so I think that's my biggest encouragement is just that piece. I as I've mentioned, I believe in Jesus. I'm a Christian, and I just have to say, that's been a huge piece of this journey for me. I believe God has just opened doors, connected dots. So for me personally, I encourage, just like, he just has a way, right?
He does.
And I just feel like he just makes things happen. And, one thing that he's really laid on my heart in the last 5-6 years is just, the verses that talk about remaining in him and not striving. And I would say I struggled more with that, like trying to make things happen. And, and it's like, if they weren't quite happening, like trying to find ways. And I believe that he really just, when we give it to him, and it's like in the timing, he will make it happen if it's supposed to, and he won't if it won't. So that's, my personal biggest thing. And I feel like I'm much more confident in that 20 years later.
Right.
And I, again, like I've got probably, I'm a person that has 8 projects going at all times, right? Like, it's just how I roll. And some of these projects have been brewing for 5 or 6 years.
Right.
But I've just been waiting on them because I haven't felt his direction pushing or leading them forward. And all of a sudden, 3 of them have just whoosh, gone. And it's like, they're happening now. And so for me, that's where I come from, is really just, I believe when you lay it down for the Lord, like, he just opens doors.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just gives you peace too. It gives you peace that I don't worry. I just don't worry about it,
Yeah.
I think also just making smart choices. I think I've seen some people in business get a little ahead of themselves. Like, I'm very much I don't know how to say this other than just, I pay myself a paycheck and I let I just stick to a very strong, just a very strong, stay in my means, if you will.
Right.
And I think that that's been huge. And I've seen other people not necessarily do that. And I think that's where you're going to get yourself into trouble and all that. So I think just, just little things like that. That was advice that I was given to me in the very beginning. And that has really proven to be just very helpful.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah.
When you were saying, when you were in the entrepreneurship class in college and your professor wrote, you should go get a job at Burger King.
Yes.
That discouragement, but it made you just push forward even more.
Yes.
My husband always tells a story that this Rexius was his business plan in college, and he got a D on it.
Okay.
And when he made 40 under 40 on the entrepreneurship, he was able to hold that up and say, hey, do you remember this D? Look at where I'm at now. So that's, I think when you have the entrepreneurship spirit with you, there's really nothing that's going to stand in your way, that you will make it happen. And just not get discouraged with it.
Yes. Yes. I am a huge, okay, here's something that I work to really work with our staff and our kids at the studio is I just believe we were all made for a purpose, right?
Yes.
And if I'm given a vision, not everybody else can see that vision.
Right.
And so I do think it's important that when you see something in your heart, don't let other people tell you no.
Yes.
Or, it's like if they can't see it. And yes, there might be some challenges, and I think it's good to hear. I love getting perspectives. I believe everybody's eyes see different things in the world. And so the more perspectives you have, the better. But yes, for sure, not letting someone else tell you that it's not good enough or it's not, I would rather find out on my own.
Yes.
And kind of follow my own than have someone else tell me no, it's not going to work.
And then not do it and then have that regret.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have this vision that I've been sitting with for years, and just trying to pray on it and see, okay, how does this door open, or what does this look like? And lately I've seen little bits and pieces kind of falling in place. And now it's just kind of sitting in it and being still and saying, okay, where can I go with this? And just lead me, because it's something that's very personal to me. And it's, it is, I think it's difficult for me to talk about, but it is, it's this huge thing that could be helpful. So I see all these little pieces but that sitting in it is hard still.
Sometimes, yes.
I mean, even at 40 years old, it's hard to just sit. And I had to get a tattoo on my wrist that says "Be still" as a reminder, because I'm always the one that's like, no, I will make it work, but just be still.
Yes. And that he will open the doors as soon as it's ready.
Yes.
So there's a few visions, and I feel like he speaks to all of us differently. Right. And sometimes I call it like a fog. Like I'll see, like there's a fog. I feel the vision in a head, but like I can't see the next steps. And so I know now. I used to try to like find the way, but now I just know that like he will clear it when it's time. And all of a sudden there'll be a flood of ideas, and it's like, oh my gosh, like this is this. I don't know if you've gotten into The Chosen at all or not.
Yes.
Okay, I love The Chosen. I totally binge watched it like 4 times, which I don't actually ever watch TV, but that all the time.
Yes.
And there's one of the episodes that, forgive me for the names, I don't have the exact name right, but I think it's Simon. Basically, they're like, it's like as Jesus is like getting more popular, and the disciples are now with him traveling, and they're feeling the, like, just everything, kind of closing in on them a little bit as far as the angst and all that stuff. And basically the disciples are sitting around this table. Jesus is off doing something else. And the disciples are like, they're like, oh, we got to get a plan. We like, this is, we got to have more of a strategic plan about how we're doing it. They're all getting, all anxious with each other. Right. And one of them's like, you better ask Jesus, because, he might have different opinions. And so anyway, so a couple of them, I think it's Simon and one other, they decide to go to, okay, we got to tell him our plan. We got to tell him and basically Jesus is like, I've got this.
Yes.
Just calm down. I've got this. So it just, to me, is such a good picture of that.
Yes, absolutely.
Of how it's like, it's like we do. And I am so guilty of this, especially in my early years of, life and business, really just, trying my own to like make the path. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing when you can really release it and just know, even if you see it and you dream it, if you give it to him and it's in his timing, it will it's like the flood just happens. Yeah.
I love that. The fog over it. 'Cause I feel like that's kind of where I'm at right now with, I can see it.
Yeah.
I have little feelers for it, but there's just not that clear path yet. Yeah. And so I love that.
It's just not time yet, but keep praying on it, keep thinking on it. And, chances are it's going to be,
So through the pandemic with the dance studio, how did you guys do and evolve through that? Because I know that's been rough on a lot of businesses we're in 2 years now.
I know. Such a tough thing. Gosh, I know. I mean, I'm grateful. I am very thankful to the Lord that I feel like protected us a lot through that. I'm thankful for being in the Midwest. I know that all over just studio owners that I've known, there's just so many people that have gone through just worse than we have, really. Yeah. So I think I start there with just like perspective of, yes, it was not good at all. And yes, that was a very hard time to be a business owner right in the beginning, especially when everything just kind of got ripped underneath us. I feel like the Lord provided, I mean, it was hard. It was very hard. I feel like there's such a spectrum of how people feel. And I feel like as a business owner, you've got your place on the spectrum of where you feel, but you really have to be ready to respect everybody else's spectrum. Yeah. Even if you're 100% opposite of theirs, like you just have to find ways to, and I found that challenging being a service business, with my staff. It starts with respecting my staff and how they feel and what decisions do I need to make that respect all of those, even no matter where I sit in that spectrum. And then, then to our people. So, a lot of that was hard to navigate. From the business standpoint, I mean, that was rocky roads. I mean, I'm very thankful for just different ways that, like I said, the Lord provided. I mean, that was huge. And I think for me, again, I'm thankful in my faith that I am where I am, as far as like, I just knew, like, Lord, it's in your hands. Yeah.
There was nothing that anybody could do.
There's nothing you can do. It is what it is. Just show me how I need to be during this time. Yeah. I know that, so I was able to really keep that peace, with lots of ups and downs. I mean, it wasn't a walk in the park by any means, but just, I was able to keep that peace that he was there.
Yeah.
And but it was rough. I mean, and again, I mean, I think for our business, I feel like people will give up other things before they'll give up their kids' activities.
Yeah.
So we're a little bit protected there. And we were very thankful people, but we did have a lot of people that weren't comfortable coming.
Right.
And, we did offer the Zoom and we had other options and stuff. But I know other businesses, they were kind of the first to the lift to be cut. Those restaurants, oh gosh, that just is hard to hear about all that.
Yeah.
Or like I said, I mean, we were able to open our doors back up pretty soon, like, late May even, right, in 2020, just thankfully with how our city was handling it and what was happening. So that really saved us. But like I said, there's been studios on the other side, on the coast that, I mean, they didn't get open for, that's tough because this is not a business that is designed to be online.
Right.
It's just not.
I was going to say it would be a hard business. I know there's a lot of different businesses that have gone to a lot of Zoom or online, and that's rough. I'm an in-person, I'm a social person.
Totally.
So
tough time. Yeah. Well, and I think that, I will say too, though, I mean, I also do, it's like, we're asked to be thankful in all circumstances, right? The good, the bad.
Yeah. And
I do think having that perspective, there are some things you came out, I think some of us felt that slow down and just the different things and the different ways we, maybe we don't need to do that way. And, so I'm thankful for those, like what we learned, I
was gonna say, as we learned a ton of different things for our business, for our home life. I mean, so there was a lot to be thankful for during that time because in that slowdown, it was nice for a little bit.
Oh my gosh, it was.
I mean, to not have something every hour, every night, every day, it was kind of nice just to be like, okay, we can just chill and reconnect.
Because our society is moving so fast and so furious. And I do think for all of us, it's very hard to discern how do we, how do we keep our family unit strong? How do we, just carve time and, how you have kids too. I know it's like you want your kids to experience all these things.
Yes.
But, just finding that balance, it's tricky.
We just had that conversation with our kids this last weekend because we've gotten so far away from family dinners because we're always so busy.
Yeah.
And we set 2 different nights. Okay. Sunday night or every other Sunday night and every other Wednesday. Like the kids, you'll have to miss youth group every other week.
Yeah.
Or you'll have to, there has to be a give because family is, we have to be together as a unit.
Yeah.
And,
we did the same thing too. Yeah. That's fun. Yeah.
And it's always changing. I mean, every season of life, it changes and you reevaluate. And so, I mean, that's with business as well. Every season brings different opportunities or struggles or challenges, and it's business ownership is fun.
Yeah. And that's another beautiful piece of it and I think that's an encouragement to people that are starting out is, I mean, the beautiful side of entrepreneurship, even though you wear the weight of it on your shoulders, right, is that you also have this incredible flexibility. Right. I mean, you have more flexibility than, it's just give and take, right? It's pros and cons. And it's funny, my kids will ask me questions about that kind of thing. Like, just Mom, is it like really fun owning a business? Is it, I'm like, there's pros and cons, guys. Yeah. Like, especially it was interesting. And my son, like we had a lot of conversations during the pandemic about that because he was, they're able to see me being so flexible and all that. But I'm like, buddy, here's the deal though. I feel responsible for all these employees that depend on this paycheck. So, I mean, there's a weight that I wear that you don't wear if you are just, employed by someone else or whatnot. So, but on the flip side, I can carve times I need for different things. And, it's just the give and take.
I got a question for something you said kind of earlier. You said when you started that you had about 100 or so, 150 or so families, kids, dancers.
Yep.
What was the turning point that kind of got you to where you are now? Like, was there one thing that happened? How did you set yourself apart? Because I feel like return business is obviously a big thing, but then to grow, that's a whole nother thing. What was there one thing that happened that got you to grow as big as you are? Because you've got over 600 now?
About 1,100.
Yeah. So there you go.
I know, time, yes. Yes, So I would say it was just a slow, steady growth. I mean, for the first years, it was like this 200 kids at a time. It was literally every system we had. And that was back in like the paper systems, right? We were using paper stuff and paper registration and paper this. I'm so thankful we're past that now. But we were growing like immensely in those first 7 years. Well, then when it got after that, it was more of like a steady growth up to that ticking mark. Probably, we're not necessarily at capacity, but like closer to, right? And I think that just is a testament to our desire for quality, right? Like we have high standards of, our teaching and the way we treat our kids and families and how we do business, and so I think that really is just, felt. And that's what's been the secret to our success.
So you would say that, they're paying for you.
Yeah. And just the, I feel like it's also too the culture that we create. I'm very big on culture. I'm very big on.
It's very important.
I just, it's like I want a culture that I want my kids in, and it's a lot about respecting each other and also just empowerment. I want all, I just love seeing people thrive, right? Like I think at the heart of it, it's like, it comes down to like watching people thrive. And I love that from my staff, seeing them going from like starting to teach a new style or starting to teach, teach in general, right? Like and trying to help build them to be stronger. But then it's then inspiring them to inspire their kids. I see dance as a vehicle, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a vehicle to grow. Just like other things, right? Just like being at the gym or doing, soccer or baseball or whatever, those are all vehicles for kids to learn. And I think there's so much to be learned through just that teamwork and working together and all that. But I also think there's, helping them believe in themselves, right? I just think that is just the key piece. And so, so we do a lot of things with, like strength finders, Enneagram, anything that, there's this whole series in, I found it first in the Strength Finders. It's like a parenting book or whatever. And it talks about like, basically like thinking of like I don't know how to say it other than like our kids as animals, right? Like these little animals, right? And like fish, like when they go to swimming class, they do really well and they really excel. When they go to jumping class, they don't do so well. Then you get your rabbit goes to swimming class and it's a little rough. And then you go to, jumping class and they're like, top of the class. Right. And so I think of it as like that of trying to help our kids. Like you don't have to be like anybody else. Right. You need to just keep being the best you. And, this is great exercise. This is great activity. You're, even if you're not maybe the one that's getting it the best in the class right now, that's okay.
Helping them understand that is so important.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there are so many, kids that are like, oh, I'm not good at this. No, but you are, but if you do it this way, because you can harness those things. So that idea of thriving is so important that I think other people and business people that start businesses need to know. Don't just help them get by and get the, whatever it is you're selling. Don't just help them get thrive. That. Help them, like with Rexius, it's amazing. You can buy their products on Amazon. That's great. Go ahead and do that. But you're not going to get the customer service to help you thrive, to understand how to use it better. The label may give you some instructions, but what's most important is, hey, we found that we do it better this way. It works better. And the same for you is, like you said, I think that's brilliant. I think it's really important that people understand thriving is important.
Yeah. Well, and I think this, who we work with, kids, right? Starting from little babies all the way up to 18, and it's like, again, I see us as a vehicle. Some kids are going to, choose dance as their path. Right. Probably a small percentage though. Majority of them are going to go into other. And so I just want this to be something where it's like they learned how to have courage, how to be brave, how to be stronger, how to, and that's what we talk to our staff a lot about. And again, we've seen our staff thrive through those. So that's, I feel like, the secret to our success of just, we believe so strongly in that. And that's like the root of who we are and what we do and what we believe and what we're striving to do ourselves. And so I think it's just, it's just created a really great environment and culture. That's
awesome. Now, are you 100% female employed business or?
We do have two male instructors, but but
it's female owned and that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, well, like you said, empowerment. I mean it does, and I think female. I was raised by a single mother, and I just saw, and she had her own business, and I grew up with Tim, her husband, and it really made me understand there are other ways to do things, and I got to see a perspective, and she ruled with an iron fist, but not with an iron tongue.
Right.
I think I think the saying goes a different way, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So she wasn't, she tried to find a way to make them do it better, but not. And I think sometimes men, we get frustrated and it's iron fist, iron tongue. It's, and sometimes we get a little frustrated and we don't use that. And then we have to go back and apologize and realize, but I think that there's a way of doing things and understanding, but that empowerment is so important because I just think people need to see different perspectives.
Yeah. And I think especially nowadays, I know just our kids, I just feel like there's so many things that make their minds numb,
true.
The videos, the games, the social media, even it's just working. And that's the other thing that I think is fueling my next projects and my next things I'm on is watching all of that and wanting to empower and inspire other ways to use their brains and minds. Right. And I do think that's where we have a opportunity in our environment. For example, when we have get-togethers, we try to encourage okay, all phones down, all phones off. Yep. We are focusing on each other and, being our best version of, just to all that stuff that can be, just worked on and stuff. And I just think we just have to be so intentional,
I 100%
so
agree.
intentional now. And I just,
I just think a lot of the things that are bad for us are disguised as things that are good for us.
Right. Yeah.
And social media has a lot of disguises out there. Oh, this is good for you. This is great. This is what you need to do. But what's really happening is we are inundating you with this subliminal, all these messages. So, and for kids, you miss that. Yeah. And I think as adults, we miss it too. Yes. But it's over the course of time that we start to realize, oh my God, what is this making me do?
Yeah.
Well, and kids are they're so moldable when they're young and when they're starting out on it young. Our older kids have social media, and if I could rewind that time and not, because that comparison game is so strong now, and especially with girls. It happens with 100%. With boys as well. I just see it with our girls more is that comparison, and it's I love what you guys are doing with the empowerment and teaching all the kids just to find what they're good at and thrive at that instead of looking what somebody else is good at, because it doesn't matter what they're good at. It matters what you're good at and what makes you happy. So I love that.
Yeah. And that's my next project right there. Yeah. Is we just opened a store right next to the studio that it's something that's been, it's that thing you're talking about where it's been a fog. It's been in the background for a long time, but there's all these ways I've seen God really connect, even down to our, when we first had a little dance store in the very beginning, 20 years ago, we had kids submit ideas for the name of the store. Okay. And one little girl submitted Behind the Curtain, and the staff voted on the names, and we chose that one. And we were like, oh, it's such a cute name. And so we have this little store for all these years, right? Well, fast forward, and just, some life events last 7 years or so, just, really showed me to make sure I was not putting my identity and idolizing things, just pleasing the Lord over people and all that. And long story short, through some study and some scripture, Hebrews 6:19 talks about that we have this anchor firm and secure, and it says it enters the inner sanctuary behind the curtain. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Wait a second.
Okay. And so the anchors, or the verse is all about anchoring our hope in heaven and not of things of this world. Yeah. And the fact that the word's behind the curtain. So anyway, long story short, that turned into this whole vision of having, a store next to the dance studio that is kind of like a mini Parables, if you will. Okay. Parables just closed.
I know, it's so sad.
But there's Altered State, but a mini version of that, right? And so we actually just opened it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Not even a month ago. It's the beginning of November. And it's just this little store that it's got, Bibles and journals and all kinds of things that the kids can. It's also got some Free People Movement line, that kids love and stuff. But yeah, and I see out of that we're going to create some workshops a couple times a year. Okay. And that's our goal, is to just do these workshops and start with girls. I'd like to do another version for boys as well, but I want to start with girls, and that it's all about that. Start, where's our identity, and what's our brand? How do we want to present ourselves to the world? And because I think that all that stuff you're talking about, I just think they get so caught in it, they don't even know. Right. Our generation, we know life before all that, right? Yes. So when I don't spend a lot of time on social media. It's just not my thing. But when I do get caught on Facebook at night or something, if I'm tired and my brain just kind of like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just wasted an hour just skimming through it. Like, what am I doing? Like, this is like wasting my but they don't know that. They don't know that that's like any different. Wasting an hour, right? Like, I'm like, I feel the difference. They don't. So anyway, this whole workshop, just to help inspire them, again, back to that whole thing of like, have it be a little bit beauty oriented, but more like, where does identity start?
Right.
What kind of brand do we want to have? How do we present ourselves to the world? I want to bring in Jesus. Like, I want them to, plant some seeds and learn. But then, then go into beauty elements and beauty things that, as women, we all want to feel beautiful. Right. And, but we're not going to also put our obsession and all that, but just to help, again, like, you be you, right? You be the most beautiful, most wonderful you, because I love the books that I'm seeing right now. And there's quite a few, I feel like. I know, Joanna Gaines has one that's like, basically the world needs who you're made to be.
Yes.
There's another one that it's all things like that. Like, God made you to be you.
Yes.
And we want you to be the best version of you and offer to the world what he has in you. But that's not the same as anybody else. And again, it takes me back to that animal thing. I see this whole thing brewing in my head about using animals as like our example, right? Like, you wouldn't expect a dog to be acting like a cat, right? Like, but like, I feel like in a way we do that to ourselves, right? Like,
and I think that's sort of the mask that I think either social media or the media in general or whatever it is, that sort of positive slide, but it's a negative that they've kind of masked because you don't know they're doing it, but. So you talk about the inner beauty and be the best beautiful you could be, outside, inside, all that. The thing is, social media is comparing you. It's automatically, as soon as you post that, right? As soon as you post that, then it's how many likes do you have? Well, my friend got 150.
I know.
Well, you only have 75.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, does that mean? And so automatically you're being judged without, and no fault. You're the one that posted, and I get that, but they're doing it. And that's the way they're doing it. And so if you can figure out how to make people understand, okay, go ahead and share whatever pictures you take, that's great. But understand, do not compare yourself to other people. And I found that in my business, I've done that as well. I feel like I compare some of my videos to others, and I'm like, oh, I got to get better. But then I realized, no, it was effective. My clients liked it. They've rehired me. It's all these things. Why am I comparing myself? But those are the things that they're sort of kind of, and if you can get these young people to try and understand that it's not about it's not about likes. If you like it, that's the reason you posted it.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That's
all
that matters. Yeah. And it really, I just think that, I mean, it's like human nature, right? Like, it's like, we just have to be aware of, like, that's just human nature. It's human nature to, to just get sucked into that, if you will. And so I think we have to work deliberately hard to not get, and that's what I'm hoping to do with some of these workshops, is to just be that gentle reminder a couple times a year, just to help like break the cycle. I think it's break the cycle, but then also for the young people today, it's like, they don't even know what it's
get it there before, right?
They don't even know, like, I mean, I find myself like, in, the once every 5 months that I post something on Instagram, I'm like, ooh, look, I got likes, it's like, I get excited too. I'm like, oh, that's fun. But I'm like, my identity is not in that, like, but I know that those girls that are, it's like, oh no, they'll
go and delete them if they don't get enough likes.
Yes. They will. It's like, it makes me so sad, but I also, but it's like, okay, but this is the era of life that they were born into. This is where God has them. Like, how do we help them, live in this world, but not of it. Right.
Yeah.
And,
I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Do you have anything else that you want to share before we sign off?
Any socials you want us to follow?
No, right? That's the thing. I'm not a very social media person, so no, I don't.
So Nebraska Dance on 114th and Dodge, and then you have a second location.
180th and Q. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. And then Behind the Curtain.
Yes. And that's, so it's actually, Behind the Curtain is a dancewear line that we're starting, and we're going to keep growing that. It's a little bit more of a pop-up right now.
Okay.
But then underneath that is the store called Anchored, and that actually it doesn't have a formal front entrance yet. It's going to this summer, but we haven't gotten there yet. But it's people access it inside the studio right now.
Wonderful.
So
check them all out. I know I will be stopping there. We have a daughter that is in dance, and so we will definitely be bringing her by. And I love everything that you're doing. I can't wait to hear more about it and hopefully work together on some of these things, because that's absolutely where my heart and my passion is helping our youth get through today, because today is rough. And so
it's rough on us parents, it's rough on the kids.
It is.
But we can, again, my encouragement is to, explore Jesus, because
Yeah.
if you got him, you got what you need. So,
Absolutely. And just
yep.
be still.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
You guys. Thank you. Thank you
Bye.
so much. Bye-bye.